Welcome to Throwin Wrenches podcast. This is the auto podcast that is making up for lost time.
On this episode of Throwin Wrenches,
Volkswagen plans on one of the biggest IPOs in history.
GM gives Buick dealers a deadline to get on the EV train.
The Inflation Reduction Act leaves EV incentives on the chopping block.
All that and more on Throwin Wrenches.
Here he comes.
Some sweet guitar sounds there, my friend.
Man, you play the sweet tunes, Daryl.
I wish I could play guitar. You ever play guitar?
No.
No?
I thought about it.
Air guitar?
No. It was one of those things. I tried to use the think method, Professor Harold Hill's think method.
Yeah. Is that like a late night infomercial or something?
If you just think it, you can do it, and it didn't work out.
Oh, that's a Music Man reference.
Yes.
Oh, man, you're so cultured.
Or geeky. One of the two.
No, it's
Raised by a woman in the 50s. Anyway, welcome to Throwin Wrenches podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. To enjoy the fun of the show, make sure you comment back to us at info@throwinwrenches.com. You can also post a review on iTunes, and we'll read it, and you'll be heard around the world.
And Eric will stop crying himself to sleep.
Well, you know when the last review was, Daryl?
When?
It was May of 2020. I remember it well.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was.
2020?
No, 2022. Sorry.
It wasn't that. Okay, all right. 2022. That was like
Maybe
the
I
way
don't.
back
Maybe I
machine.
don't remember it as well as I thought I did.
That's all right. It's been a long life, so it's fine.
Been a while.
So this is episode 68. We're 2 episodes past our high water mark. We're hoping that it's going to peak again.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
I think our wives always want that too.
Yeah.
Anyway. Hey, if you don't know my co-host Daryl Scott, this man takes pity on the lonely and the hungry masses. I should know. When I was nearly destitute and starving for a meal when my wife was out of town, Daryl, Sarah, Archie, and Philip brought me in, and they fed me a fine family curry.
Here.
They should be thankful that I had clean laundry because I might have shown up with a laundry bag as well. But it all worked out. Thanks again to the Scott family for bringing in this destitute man. That's Daryl Scott.
Now, happy to do that. And Archie was the one who was behind all the cooking. I didn't even cook that night.
It was pretty good.
It was pretty good. He actually made plenty there. So it's nice when you have company. You make a lot of food, and then you have leftovers. You don't have to cook for half the week. It's really nice.
That's your story.
All right. So speaking of food, if you don't know my co-host here, the Corn Kid. You follow memes, Eric? Do you know the Corn Kid from South Dakota? All right, we'll Google that later.
I've heard about it, yes.
All right, so the Corn Kid, he's got nothing on my co-host because he also frequents any and all local fairs, town events, and festivals, whether it's Turkey Fest, Pumpkin Fest, that's right, there's a Pumpkin Fest, or the Marigold Fest in Pekin. You'll find the likes of Eric Stahl working at counters, slinging Italian beef sandwiches, or working the crowd, shaking hands and kissing babies, which is better than the other way around. Corn Kid, meet the Corn King. He's Mr. Eric Stahl.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. And I love that because we had a great time with the Marigold Fest here this last weekend. It
was nice.
And the boys, they were in prime fashion. I tell you this, 10 years ago, my son started the theatrics there. He's been a carnival barker. I think this kid was made to be like a carnival barker 100 years ago. So he started this tradition, and now my boys from Troop 62, they walk around the whole Marigold Fest annoying everybody. They got in trouble because they told somebody in line for another food, you're making a bad decision. You should come over to Troop 62, and they stole a customer.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. It set a bad precedent. So we probably have some apologies to make.
That's all right. I will say the Marigold Fest is a great event right there in Mineral Springs Park in beautiful Pekin, Illinois. So if you're planning some events there, a couple years ago, you guys get some pretty good guests there. Yeah. We had Eric Estrada from Chips fame.
Did you go see him?
No, I
thought Sarah might stand in line for that one.
Who else did you have? Like
we had
Cliff Clavin.
Cliff Clavin was there, and then the guys from Iowa, the Pickers.
Mike Wolf.
Not Mike Wolf.
Who's the other one?
the little guy.
Frank Fritz or whatever?
Frank Fritz was there like 3 or 4 years ago.
Interesting. Okay.
Before his demise.
I was going to say, did he passed away?
No, I don't think so. I think he's just having health problems.
I thought he passed away.
Ooh.
I got to Google that.
All
too.
right, we got to find that out for sure. Can't say.
If Danielle was there, I'd probably go see that. But she does like burlesque shows. That's a whole other
Oh,
non-friendly.
all right. Well, that sounds like a post show.
No,
All right.
yeah, that's a pre-show material there.
Before we get too deep in the show, we like to talk about our sponsors. We love our sponsors. They've this one in particular, Daryl, Fort's Toyota Pekin. They have sponsored the show from the get-go. Fort's Toyota Pekin, they are a small hometown dealership located in North Pekin, Illinois. The Fort family offers new and used cars and the parts and service for Toyotas. You can find them on the web at www.toyota-pekin.com. And they got all the inventory in there. Today, 7 cars showed up at Fort's Toyota, and a couple of them were still for sale. We have a GR86 for sale, and we have a Corolla hatchback sitting a lot right now in that blue color.
Not
totally
bad.
Sweet. So,
that blue is pretty slick.
and then we got a Capstone Tundra that showed up, but it was already sold. Sorry about that. The white interior.
That seems like a risky move for a truck.
It does seem like a risky move. But the seat bottoms are black, but the seat backs are white.
Okay.
So I think, anyway.
You can go do some roofing
Absolutely.
and get tar on the seat, and no one will never know.
If you're a roofer, you're not driving a Capstone, unless you're the boss and you're showing up and you're telling the guys what to do, and then you get out of there,
You're
right?
supervising.
Exactly.
You missed a spot.
Yeah. Fort's is the king of Toyota trucks in Central Illinois. So if you have a need for a Toyota truck or any Toyota in general, see them, 309-382-4000, get you there. And spoiler alert, Daryl, I do work there. So if I sound a little jaded, I do work there. I'm a service manager. So make sure you stop in and see me as well.
Yeah, he's a good guy, folks. Also, like to say a quick thank you to another longtime sponsor with some longevity here, Gabe Casey, for Tazewell County State's Attorney. That's right. If you live in Tazewell County, consider voting for Gabe Casey for State's Attorney.
Who would have been here tonight, but another festival got in the way.
Yeah. Pumpkin Festival, which in the beautiful city of Morton, Illinois, it's kind of a thing. It is kind of a thing. I actually had someone that I knew very close to me dressed
Who you lost at the Pumpkin Festival?
We actually lost to the Pumpkin Festival. They actually left work early to go to the Pumpkin Fest with their family. So that is what kind of a big draw there is. I will say the pumpkin chili there, which also sounds a little suspect, a little sus, as the kids say. Pumpkin chili is pretty good. You ever had that? Pumpkin Fest?
I've done it. I think I went there. I think way back when, kind of like Gabe, when we had the kids running around. I think we did pumpkin pancakes, and we did we did the whole thing, breakfast, and but no longer do all that stuff. I would do a pumpkin curry though. If they had like a curry cook-off, because I'll do like a yam curry.
Yeah.
And pumpkin's pretty close to consistency. That'd be pretty fun.
That's not bad. And for our listeners who are outside the greater central Illinois tri-county area, Morton, Illinois is actually the pumpkin capital of the world. All the Libby canned pumpkins you all make the Thanksgiving pies with, well, that all comes and it's mostly processed here.
Yeah. You don't live in Morton, so you don't get to enjoy the smell that comes from that.
Is there an aroma?
Oh, yes.
Really? Pumpkin.
Yes.
It doesn't smell like pumpkin pie.
Did you go to school in Champaign? Were you in
Western?
Okay. So did you ever smell the Kraft Factory in Champaign?
No. I've smelled ADM in Decatur.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all these factories seem to have the same smell, but when Libby's gets going with the pumpkins, I tell you, there's just some industrial food processing smell that just never
watch out.
Buddy. Yeah. Anyway, so that's part of the pain of being part of the pumpkin universe, I think.
Speaking of bringing the pain, we also have folks who bring the joy. The Patreon supporters, they actually help make this program possible. They brought us the microphones, the mixer, the cords, everything that's working. So we do appreciate all of their support. It's really helped us grow and make sure that this program gets to your earbuds in a timely fashion.
Yeah, thanks for those Patreon subscribers. Have so much fun. We had a post show last episode. We actually got some feedback from Don saying he really enjoyed that. And all I did was tell a yarn about Bonus Beer Bob and the Good Beer Show. And
I don't know how he doesn't have a Netflix series with that title by now. But
as we started to allude to in the post show, all my ideas get stolen. So it'll probably happen.
True story.
Yeah.
We have been looking for reviews. Have you found them? Have you found any?
No, like I said, some of the sites just give you rankings. I went through, and none of the other sites besides iTunes actually let you give a real review. So if you're not on iTunes, I get it. I get it,
man.
It's fine. But
we are still a 5-star podcast, though, on Apple Podcasts. We dipped to 4.9. We were 4.9 for a week.
I had it expunged.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Remove the strike this from the record.
I
Your
think
Honor.
somebody they reconsidered their choices.
Maybe you guilted them into it.
I did. But what is this? What's 67?
Oh yeah, so episode 67. We did have some feedback from some listeners and friends in the UK who enjoy listening to this podcast on Spotify while they're cruising down the motorway on their Tesla.
Oh boy,
that's our target demo. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right?
Target demographic.
Affluent male.
That's right. Eric said, and this is the comments that they left were, Eric said that hybrids were true zero-emission vehicles, exclamation point.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. We were talking about like PZEVs and ZEVs, which actually sounds kind of like a medication or something. I don't know.
I don't remember because I don't believe they're truly zero, but okay.
Yeah,
I think for California emissions, they're rated as truly zero.
That's kind of, I think, what the gist of that was.
Yeah.
Is they're not truly zero,
Yeah.
but they're cleaner in many instances. And then also in my mind, quote, I was linking to the squashed Ford truck roofs with the Tesla beta software discussion and thinking at least the Tesla owners know and made a conscious choice to be beta testers. But the poor squashed truck drivers thought they were in a fully proofed vehicle. So you remember there was the story about the F-250s and Ford was getting a class action lawsuit against them because it turns out when they roll over, the roofs...
Yeah, they aren't rated for the weight underneath the frame and everything like that.
Not good. And I think you made an allusion to, like, that's no different than Tesla beta testing a feature. What was that, right? What was the feature that Tesla rolled? Do I have to listen back to that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. I wasn't prepared for this discussion. Oh, my God.
You're getting peppered.
Is this listener, are they lawyers?
No.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to say anything out of turn. I don't want to be used against me in court.
No.
Okay.
No, it's interesting, though.
Especially international court.
Talking about beta testers and the importance of people complaining when some feature, a beta feature,
well,
doesn't
and
work.
that was the moment of Musk. Yes, but
was that a Johnny Carson moment of mush?
Moment of mush.
Casey Kasem.
And now number 4.
This one goes out to our friend Elon. Long distance. No, anyway, so the whole notion of beta testing something simple like a piece of computer software versus a $80,000 electric car. There's a bigger gamble. There's more risk at stake there. Wouldn't you say if you're a beta tester of some feature?
But, I mean, we talked about like Winamp and stuff like that. I've beta tested stuff before. And actually, one of my employees told us he'd been beta testing iOS 16 on his iPhone here for a long time.
Ooh.
He was quite excited about it.
Was he?
Yeah. But I'm not driving a beta test,
You're not relying on that?
And if Airbus said they were beta testing your flight, what would you say?
Yeah. So you're on a Qantas flight somewhere across the ocean, and they're like, we're beta testing this autopilot feature.
Yeah. By the way, we're only flying with one pilot. It's a beta test. You'd be like, at first, can I at least get a discount? If I'm going to die, I mean, how much can this flight be? At least 50% off?
If you saved 40%, would you do it?
Oh, yeah, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah, for an $1,800 flight, yeah.
Flying over an ocean? I don't know. It's scary. Yeah, beta...
That's all lost. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I die and I end up on an island with...
Tattoo? No. Not Fantasy Island.
No, not Fantasy Island. Lost. I'm trying to think of that.
There's been so many TV shows about people in islands.
Yes.
Anyways.
Can we get to the project?
Yeah.
All right. We start every show off. Well, we start off with all the other nonsense, but then we go right into the project section. That's where Daryl and I talk about all the great things we've been doing lately. The first thing was kind of cool. On Labor Day, you and I hung out at the Delavan Car Show. We did. Yeah. It used to be run by the Optimist, but then it all got sideways, and then Brent Rossi is running it with the city of Delavan, but he's also doing it for St. Jude, and it was a great show. I went down there with $100 in cars, Matchbox cars, thinking I could buy the votes to get one of those coveted prizes. I mean, they have these cool trophies. Yeah, it's like a children's, the kids vote, Kids' Choice Awards kind of thing. So they vote on which car they think is cool. It didn't pay off. It didn't pay off. You did not get any kind of payoff whatsoever. You came with a giant box full of cool Hot Wheels. I literally like scooped the whole rack from Morton. I mean, there's probably children crying that Sunday afternoon when they went to Morton.
And,
there were no cars
and
left.
Adults, because they collect them too.
More adults too. Yeah, got to collect them all.
They also were bribing kids with candy. Did you have candy? I don't know if you had a bucket of candy too.
No, I think next time I'm gonna have little tags with the number. But what I didn't like let me start complaining.
The airing of the
about
grievances.
The charity car show that bothered me.
Yeah.
That was the Jack's Wax guy has a Porsche in purple sitting right there, and he's right next to where the kids dropped off their votes, and somehow he got like car of the show or something like that.
He did get a trophy. You're correct.
Yeah. But there was nothing special about that car.
It was a metallic purple wrapped Porsche.
Come on.
Kids like that. But I will
What was
say,
he giving out?
the kids liked that because it looked like the grown-up version of the Hot Wheels you were giving out.
Yeah, whatever. If I would have parked closer to the final deposit point of the ballots, I think I would have won as well.
You actually did drive the GR Supra race car with like stickers and numbers on it and sponsor decals. You even had the helmet out there. It looked legit.
Yeah.
Looked cool. Gabe Casey also joined us with his lovely family.
It was like totally crazy that I pulled in. I didn't even know he was coming, and I see this red BMW convertible pull in, and I'm right behind him. We parked right next to each other, and you were just minutes behind.
We actually all lined up together.
That never happens.
Ever. It would never happen
You
again.
could plan it for weeks.
I also think it was the weirdest collection of vehicles, too. It just shows you how eclectic the three of us chuckleheads are.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I, Sarah and I, drove our 55 Plymouth. Eric had his GR Supra there. And then, Gabe's E30 BMW convertible. They all look great, but we're not even close to being on the same wavelength.
No.
Automotive.
No. But I think the whole show was kind of like that. I mean, there was some weird stuff there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Supras, too. And the funny thing is, I think about like some of the more modern classics. They're not classics, but like the 86s and the FRSs and these little sports cars, even Miatas. But nothing like that was there. But Supras seemed to represent. There was 4 or 5 Supras there.
Yeah, there were. There was a Ferrari 348 there just hanging out randomly. And then like the Rat Rod pickups and,
But the weather was garbage, so I just assumed to get down. And to be fair, I'm not sure it was a totally great showing versus years past. I think they probably could have got another 100 cars there if the weather would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But it was still decent representation for bad weather.
Good turnout. They had vendors out there selling food, sandwiches.
What'd you get? What did you?
I got a grilled cheese sandwich.
My brother went to the ice cream stand. Did you see these ice cream treats?
No.
Oh, I got to show you. I mean,
Take a picture of it?
Yeah.
It's like a mountain of ice cream?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Made a poor decision when I got the nachos.
You also know it's a good event when you have a food vendor selling like the walking tacos or the taco in a bag. Mm-hmm. That's the best food in I don't care where you are. I should have got that. I saw the other place and I got a sandwich first and I'm like, later on I'm like, I don't need this, but walking tacos, that's the greatest invention in the world. Did you get one?
No, but I've had walking tacos before. I don't know. The problem I have is a Frito bag.
What's wrong with the Fritos?
Because a lot of times, so you don't know if you're getting a snack pack Frito bag or a legit Frito bag.
Okay.
The snack pack's a ripoff. Come on, let's be honest.
You get like 7 Fritos.
Yeah, well, and just like a dollop of chili and some sour cream in there. And you're like, okay, here you go, $5. And you're like, that's like 2 scoops and I'm done.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I would do like the family size bag of Fritos.
Yes.
And just put like
the chili cheese Fritos?
Yes, an entire crock pot of chili in there. But then I would also be the 600-pound man.
This sounds like a dinner party idea.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You want to do like a real life-size walking taco?
Just lay newspapers out on the patio table, dump like bags of chili cheese Fritos, and just start throwing dollops of meat. And
that would be the last dinner party our wives ever went to. Did you have fun tonight, honey? I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do with all that after the raccoons are done eating it?
I'm ashamed. Never again.
All right. Also going on in my projects.
Yeah. We got sidetracked.
I'm stripping the Plastidip off my son's truck so I can sell that. I did a good job this year.
The Plastidip or the truck?
Well, okay. Well, if I could sell the Plastidip parcel, little pieces for some money, that'd be great. But no, I'm going to sell his 1998. No. God, I don't even know what year it is. It's a 98. I believe it's a 98 4Runner.
Vintage.
Yeah. So it was Desert Dune metallic. It's just a nice little 4Runner. And I mean, I never had a problem with it, but my son, for some reason, thought that Desert Dune metallic was a terrible color. So we Plastidipped it blue, thanks to Gabe. There's 3 mentions of Gabe Casey in the show already. But he let my son use his Plastidip machine. So got a gallon of blue Plastidip. It looked like a TRD Pro blue when we first did it.
Yeah.
It was nice and shiny. It was great. But because it didn't have fender flares, the spacers just like threw dirt up all over it, so it always just looked kind of grungy and dusty.
You protected the original fender.
Well, that's the thing. I'm stripping it off right now, and the truck looks really good. Everybody who sees it at the dealership It's my thinking space, by the way. I go out there and I like peel on it for a little bit.
Just like take a moment.
Right? Honestly, it's better than a break room. Just go out there and peel some plastic.
Some guys go out and smoke. You just go out and peel plastic dip off your kid's truck.
Equally good for gaining cancer, probably. but it's I think it's going to be an easy sell once I get it cleaned up. So
it'll go well. It's a 2-wheel drive truck, so maybe we have a listener in the South who wants a really clean.
There you go.
Old 4Runner. There you go.
There you go. Automatic 2.7 liter 4-cylinder. It's reliable as heck. It's slow and it's safe. So you know what? It'd be perfect for another kid somewhere else down the line. Also, did I mention autocross?
No,
coming up,
you didn't.
Yeah, so we got autocross coming up in Pekin. I'm going to try and make one of those events, and Summer's going to be in town too. My daughter, who's normally raced in the past, we'll see if we can make that happen, but it's October 1st and 2nd. Pekin Airport, it's super fun. It's a great, tight little space to do it, and I actually kind of enjoy it when it's kind of cool, or if it rains. I think that's just so much fun out there. I think the last time we had one out there, it did rain one of the days, and people I don't know if we want to race. I'm telling you, even if the weather's bad, it's actually a great time. So, make an effort to do it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. It'll be totally fun. And I may try and make the Southern Cruiser Crawl. I talked to Daryl before the show started. I've been, of course, anybody who's been following along knows that we got some struggles with my daughter's health, and we're dealing with St. Jude and stuff like that. But the Toyota Land Cruiser Association, Great Smoky Mountain Trail Ride, and Mardi Crawl, and these are folks from Southeast Toyota and from Louisiana Land Cruisers. They have been so kind to my family. So if I can make it happen, I'd like to go to another TLCA event this year, which would be Southern Cruiser Crawl. That's hosted by Cotton Land Cruisers. It's in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I know Jake is going. We talked about it previously before. If I can do it, I'm going to do it. If I can't, it just doesn't work out for the scheduling. But my God, man, my friends in the TLCA have been just amazing. So you don't even realize, you don't even realize how many people know you and how much you've had an effect on people, because I wrote articles and I showed up at the events, and I didn't really sponsor anything, but I was always there and doing stuff and helping out. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome. Get that support coming back the other direction.
Absolutely, and it pays. It pays to have those groups that you're involved in, whether it's autocrossing, off-road stuff, or just any other kind of car culture people. They're the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. They really are just down to earth, amazing.
These
people.
TLCA people.
Yeah,
I loved them all anyway. I tell amazing stories about all the great times of camping and cooking and trail riding and all the stuff we would do. Mm-hmm. But it's just, to me, it just felt like we're just having a great time. We're getting to be neighborly and friendly, and we're all just kind of like a family. And we would do a lot of stuff that would be like, a lot of these events are charity events. So if they gain $20,000 at what's the big one? Cruise Moab or FJ Summit, they make $20,000 donation to a charity.
Sure.
And so, I would throw in, your event pass is paying for charity. You buy tickets, raffle tickets, you buy a drive, you buy all these tickets and stuff, and you throw stuff in there, and they say, hey, it's for a good cause. You buy more tickets and all that. We would do that stuff all the time. And so you don't think about it. I've been doing this for 5 or 7 years or whatever it's been. Yeah. And but it's when it comes back your direction, and I told Mike Legnan from Louisiana Land Cruisers this week when I talked to him to thank him, like I never thought I'd be in the receiving end of it. That's just, it's humbling because you don't ever put yourself in that position, which thank God I never thought about it.
Sure.
But it is nice that those guys are out there doing that.
Yeah. Very, very, very happy to hear that.
Sorry to bring the show down.
No. It's good. It's good. I can't say enough about what you've brought to some of these groups that you've been involved in, because you don't just sit back and like pay your admission and do your thing and go home. You're usually rolling up your sleeves doing stuff.
Maybe, yeah,
and that helps too.
Yeah,
that helps too.
I like to be a known person.
Yeah, I just want to sit back and do nothing. But
that's not true, Daryl.
Hopefully.
That's why you're on TikTok, so you can show off. How many people are following you now on TikTok?
I don't know. I don't know. I did have one.
Would
video.
you like me to check while you're talking about what you got going on?
It's probably embarrassing. I did have one video though that did get 16,000 impressions or hits or whatever.
What is that? Does that pay you anything?
No, I don't. I haven't monetized my account yet. My content's terrible though. I don't even shoot in the right aspect ratio. So I've been told.
What does that mean?
Yeah, you're supposed to shoot vertically, which goes against everything I've ever.
Oh
been
no,
taught.
yeah, horizontal was like king for so long,
and now all this stuff.
But now everything's gone on the mobile phone. You got to do it.
Stupid.
It's terrible.
Technology's dumb.
No, you don't. I mean, that's really for like in your face. It's not, you're not getting a wide scope of anything when you shoot vertically like that.
I'm just, you know what I wish? I wish TikTok existed when I was younger, when like my brothers would do something to tick my dad off in public, and my dad would like spaz out. You know, that's what I wish I had. I wish I had TikTok for when my dad was reprimanding my brother and I for doing something stupid in public, because that would have been gold. You look at some of the stuff now and you're like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It would have been much funnier. I remember there was one time where I locked my brother out of the car, and I think my dad was coaching football. It was like summer camp or something. And my mom was working. I don't even know what was going on, but like we were just like sit in the car, read a book, and here's your Etch-a-Sketch, and I'll be done in 4 hours. Naturally, for like the first hour that worked, and then after that we were bored, and we didn't have like whatever the kids have now, phones,
anything, yeah.
Right? So I remember it was my parents' '79 Pontiac Le Mans Safari station wagon. We're sitting in the practice field, the football field, the high school my dad taught at. He was doing something outside the car, like throwing rocks or just being a jerk or whatever. And he wanted back in the car. I closed the door and I rolled up all the windows, which is funny because it was like August. It was like stupid. And I remember like my brother got mad and he's like, I'm going to throw a rock at the window if you don't let me in. And I'm like,
no.
Go ahead, make my day or whatever. And he just picked up a bunch of pea gravel and threw it at the window. And I just remember seeing what safety plate glass turned into when you get peppered with rocks.
Yeah, little bits of sand.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I remember my dad from like across the football field, who was running drills as an offensive coordinator. I just remember he just like threw the clipboard down and came over, and just like a mushroom cloud exploded. It was fantastic.
Oh, God.
I wish I had some sort of TikTok thing going on there. Because I think if I monetized that, I'd be retired now. You and I would be speaking from some sort of gold-plated microphone.
I wouldn't even know you, Daryl.
I would actually, I'd be in the Alps somewhere.
Yeah, or you'd be Alex Jones.
Those are my two choices.
Yes, exactly.
A rich guy in the mountains or Alex Jones. I guess that's life.
All right, so what else is going on? Because I saw the cleanest. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I went to Daryl's house last week, and I saw the renovations going on the Cadillac.
Mm-hmm. It's getting there.
Oh my God, dude! Once you pull a plastic cover off and do some saddle soap, that everything turns out like that, or what?
Yeah, leather's going really good. The back seat's pretty much done. The front seat, we ran Houston. We have a problem. Ran into some more mouse damage, and working through it. Sarah, my lovely wife, is a great. Is seamstress a word that I can use?
Like Betsy Ross or what?
Yeah, she's so in old glory in the form of my front seat. No, we actually went to Joann Fabrics, and actually, if you're a car guy and you want to do upholstery on the DL or like save some money,
thrifty.
If you walk through Joann Fabrics, you're like, for $60 to $100, I can do anything I need here. If you sew, or if you know someone who does.
That's post-inflation.
It is. You got like foam, you've got, all the batting you would never need, any kind of naga hide covering, or even some fabric. I know guys who have had their front seats redone, like them and their wives will redo an entire, like they'll just take the old seat covers off and like break them apart, break the seams, and then like clone them with whatever new fabric. It's a lot of work.
Sounds like a ton of work.
We're not going to get into that, but
baseball stitching.
Yeah, I can't do that. So we're getting close to the front, putting everything back together for the interior, and then next year it's looking like I'll work on the rest of the mechanics. I did get my generator back. I'm going to do some wiring and stuff.
I think the Quickstar folks listen to the show. It sounded like
they literally. I was kind of, where's my stuff? And then the next week they called. It's done. So maybe. But hopefully I'll get the thing running. I would love to be able to fire it off before I put it away for winter, just to see if the stupid thing works.
So, I mean, that's the thing. Now that I saw it this last time, I see it sitting up on 4 fully inflated tires.
Yeah.
And
it's good.
And I see the interior starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look under the hood, but, I mean,
it's there.
There has to be this feeling of put the key in the ignition and turn it over, and you have not done that. How have you disciplined yourself?
I overthink everything, and I always expect the worst. So there's part of me, the high schooler in me, wanted to just get a gas can and a rubber hose and gravity feed the carb and just put a jumper pack on it and see if she'll fire.
Yeah.
the older person in me says, yeah, what about stuck valves? What about mouse stuff in the exhaust? What about,
that's true.
all those things that you're like, start adding up and start costing money. So I'm still going to play it safe, but I might still.
The temptation. So you've rolled the engine with a
breaker bar.
So it's free.
Yeah. So I know it's free. I don't know the condition of the trans yet.
Oil on the dipstick?
It's clean. It's cleaner than anything else in the garage.
Okay.
So I have a really good feeling. When I do it, I want to make sure that I'm not going to ruin it. So, but I don't know. Talk to me in October, November. Now that I can actually, once I get the front seat in and that finally gets buttoned up, I can actually sit in the thing and I can, pump brakes. I can go through and play around with whatever, try starting it. It was so bad before I just couldn't even get near it. And now the garage doesn't smell. It's great. It's great.
It just has that old car smell now.
It does.
Yeah.
Maybe that's me. Maybe it's my Old Spice.
No, I mean, you know that smell.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Phil and Archie for sending me that die-cast model. Actually, they found a die-cast of a 55 Fleetwood, and it showed up, and it is beautiful.
Is it white?
No, it's like a pastel yellow. It's beautiful.
Well, it's pretty close to your color then.
But even as a 1/64th model, it's one of the bigger die casts. Mm-hmm. Even as a small model, it barely fits in my. I have a little spot on my desk in the office. Yeah. It barely fits in there. I got that and the little Lego Supra that my niece and I built.
Yeah,
and it just dwarfs.
It doesn't look anything like a Supra.
No, they're both yellow though. So. Anyways, that's all I got, and a couple more carb rebuilds in the works. And actually, you put a carburetor in my car tonight.
Yeah, that one's for Mr. Fort.
Looking forward to that.
He's got his, was it 1989 Jeep? Is it? Yeah, it's a beautiful Sahara. I've ogled over that thing for eons, but he gave it to his son Trevor, and it ran. I mean, they used to drive that thing all the time in the 90s, but then it really got just pushed in the back of every. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about having that Hicks building across the street. There's just like the storage facility, and he has other storage facilities besides that, but that one didn't run for 20 years, and now they pulled it back out because Trevor, he wants to
drive it.
He's got kids.
Yeah.
You know what? That old style Jeep, even though it's got the square headlights, still has that triangle back roll bar.
It'd be fun.
Totally cool, totally fun, but just runs like garbage. So we were going to take it to Winner's Circle, and I said, well, I know a guy, and like I said, it's a paid job, Sarah. This isn't like a freebie.
Oh, that's fine.
Whatever. But I figured you could help out. So
yeah,
and you volunteered. I didn't just throw this on you.
I rebuilt. It's a Carter BBD, and I actually rebuilt one last year.
Yeah,
last year.
So, total confidence in Mr. Darrell Scott. If not, I'll just tell Mr. Fort you screwed it up.
Thank you. I have no doubt you will. All right, so it looks like we're at that time of the show.
Yeah, we dragged it out this far.
We sure did. It is time for the news.
Let me put on my Walter Cronkite suit here. Is my tie tight enough?
I like it. Yeah. You did do a good news announcer the last time.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. The news. You used to do a thing.
It's time for the news.
Thank you.
All right.
It's like a news reel.
It is. All right. International news, folks. Volkswagen, this is according to Wall Street Journal, Volkswagen is going to list Porsche in one of the largest IPOs in years. Volkswagen AG said on Monday that they would list its iconic sports car maker, Porsche AG, in one of the biggest initial public offerings in years, and a crucial test for investors' confidence as high inflation and the war in Ukraine put a damper on the global economy. The offering could value Porsche between 60 billion euros and 85 billion. Oh my! Is that a distraught German? I don't know what that was. It's equivalent to $59 to $84 billion in U.S. bucks. According to an analyst's estimates, injecting this cash into VW's coffers, executives say will help the company bankroll its transition to electric vehicles and self-driving cars. So to me, I think Porsche is one of those iconic brands that when we look back 20 or 30 years, Porsche is not going anywhere.
Probably not.
I could see Volkswagen becoming a marginal brand. I could see, let's just say that EVs and transportation changes so much with public transportation and nobody really wants to have cars. There's going to be iconic brands that are never going away.
Sure. And
this is when you and I are on our deathbeds.
Right.
Probably, but I think Porsche is one of those brands, that if I'm in a Bruce Willis science fiction movie, 100 years from now, it's a flying Porsche, right?
They'll still be here.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that they're going to use that to free up some money and pump it into their big EV transition. When we've heard very little here in the States, and you've been banging the drum for this for years. Here in the States, we don't hear too much about their EV stuff, but over in the UK, over in Europe, you do hear a little bit about that, and they're poised to do some pretty good business worldwide with, I'd say, affordable, approachable EV transportation. If this is going to give them that cash incentive that they need, cool. What's that mean for Porsche? I mean, Porsche, if you look historically, has been super traditional. You can still get an actual manual transmission. They're still the enthusiast car when you talk to people. I agree with you 100%. I don't think that's going to change, even though they've started things like the Taycan and some other EV models that they're in the works. Those are still performance cars. They're still a Porsche. So I don't know. Interesting news.
I think it is interesting. I also think this is one of those situations, kind of almost like Rivian and some others. I mean, yeah, we're $84 billion up front. But do you watch that stock sink down to $30 or $40 billion? I mean, so the IPO, you buy in at $250 right up. But I don't think you're going to make any money on that stock for a long time.
It's not going to grow.
It's a cash grab for Volkswagen. IPOs, this will be a test. It will be interesting to see what they actually get on the IPO on this.
Because what's next for Porsche? After an IPO,
nothing.
What's next?
Nothing. I don't think they have any cars that they're going to say, oh, yeah, because this IPO, we're doing this or that. I mean, like I said, the Taycan, that's a huge car. But realistically, they're retooling their factories. They're taking that money and they're working on it. But you're not going to see any results of any of this for years to come. So it will be interesting to see if it actually works out.
Maybe
as far as works out in the market aspect, as far as you feel like happy you bought in on that IPO.
Right, you feel proud that you have that. Maybe they will be the first flying car.
You never know.
Never know. Okay, so speaking of this is technically not international, but it's kind of international because Stellantis is, international and whatnot. Anyways, an interesting article came across the feed today, and it said that Stellantis is actually stopping production of the eco-diesel Ram. That's the half-ton truck, of course, the Ram. But they started including in, 2014, a diesel V6. It's a smaller V6 that they borrowed. It's a Fiat motor. It's very popular in Europe.
Really?
Yeah. It was in like delivery trucks and kind of light-duty vehicles over in Europe and across the world. But here in the States, it only showed up in the Ram pickup. And from Jalopnik, this article came in. It said it would appear that although the small, by American standards, diesel truck revolution for let me start over.
Okay.
It would appear as though the small, by American standards, diesel revolution for half-ton pickup trucks has run its course. They're turning off the lights and sweeping the paper streamers off the floor, according to the announcement made on Tuesday. Ram is discontinuing its excellent eco-diesel V6 in January 2023. And in case you're wondering what the big deal is, the eco-diesel V6 is or was a great engine with respectable power, torque, and especially for those who like to tow with a half-ton truck but still have a little bit of oomph that you'd expect with a 3/4-ton truck. And it's totally bananas, 4-figure cruising range thanks to the big old fuel tank and good overall efficiency. 32 miles per gallon on the highway.
Wow, that's strong.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, what would you give for that? I mean, seriously.
Honestly, and the option was about $4,000 over the cost of like a traditional Hemi V8.
I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous. I'd take that all day long. I mean, unless you're really towing like a giant 2-car hauler or something like that, right?
Yeah, construction equipment or something. Yeah. But if you're towing a boat or an RV or something like that, or a car hauler on the weekends, whatever, that's really respectable. And it actually, the Ram was kind of a response to some of the other options for smaller diesel 6-cylinders. So General Motors has a smaller Duramax that you can get in the Silverado and the GMC Sierra. And Ford actually has, I think it's like a 2.7 Power Stroke, which is a smaller 6-cylinder Power Stroke. But they also kind of gave up the ghost. I think GM and Ford are still going to offer that for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But the Ram EcoDiesel was definitely like one of the best in class as far as that goes for numbers for mileage. But the CEO actually said, for the Ram brand CEO, a guy named Mike Koval Jr.
Oh, Mike? Oh, yeah, I know Mike.
Good old Mike.
He's the oldest one of the Koval boys.
JR to you and me. Our Ram EcoDiesel V6, he says, has delighted consumers with the highest half-ton diesel torque rating and towing capability while being the first to exceed 1,000 miles of range. That's insane.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
like semi-truck.
Yeah, yeah. Not even a Dodge Ram fan because I've just watched so many transmissions and
It's just grenades.
Yeah. So, okay. So you got big range on it, but you probably change the transmission. Get that lifetime warranty if you're gonna get one of those things. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So the other part of his statement says, as we quickly pivot towards an electrified future, we wanted to celebrate this last eco-diesel milestone by offering our loyal light-duty diesel enthusiasts a final opportunity to order the truck they love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that kind of fuel economy, I think people will be lining up for it, right?
I'm thinking about it. No.
My big takeaway on this article, and this may sound kind of crazy, I said the word ticker tape to my kid the other day.
Yeah.
They don't even know what ticker tape is. So I noticed here they said paper streamers off the floor in the beginning of this article.
That's like the next generation.
The kids don't know what ticker tape is.
Oh.
And I said, it's from the stock market tickers. They just heap it out the windows on for parades. And my daughter goes, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
Like,
So, yeah, I saw that in a 1930s movie once, Dad. Thanks for the reference.
Yeah, I used to watch Remember When with Dick Cavett when I was a kid. That's how I learned all this stuff.
Yeah, how old are you? I swear you're 73.
I told that story to Phil the other day. That's how I learned all my American history was from Dick Cavett.
Dick Cavett. Half-ton diesel truck, what do you think? You hear that from folks all the time. Like, if they have a half-ton truck and they tow.
Well, the problem I always had was I never felt like the fuel economy, was that advantageous. So I felt like and it used to be like it's a $10,000 cost upgrade, maybe for those big diesels.
Right, like a Cummins or like the big Power Strokes.
And so then you're dumping all this DEF in there. You're spending all the extra money on maintenance. And you're like, oh, that isn't worth it. But if you're getting a small diesel and you're getting twice the fuel economy of a gasser,
yeah,
that's a strong argument just to run with that.
Why hasn't America been able to embrace diesel like other countries? And why is it such I can't
answer that question. I can't answer it because I've worked for a manufacturer that never could figure out a way to get a diesel in the United States.
No, Toyota never really did.
No, they did in the 80s or something like that, and that was like the last time. So
yeah, it's hard to. Well, I don't know. I say hard to imagine, but I'm interested to hear from our good friend Steve Brown, Mr. Cannonball
Downtown
PMC.
Steve Brown.
He actually got a different daily driver, and he actually opted for kind of similar reasons, a half-ton Sierra pickup with the smaller Duramax 6-cylinder. And I'm curious, as he kind of puts that through its paces and daily duty, I'd love to hear like a short and a long-term report, because I would think on paper that would be the best of both worlds. You get half-ton pickup capability, you get the diesel power when you need it, but you also get decent fuel economy. Sure, it's a little bit of money on the purchase end of that. I'm just curious what that is long-term going to be.
You think high fuel prices have like tempered our desire to have high horsepower and high torque?
Maybe to some extent.
Because I feel like now when you say like she's a little bit slow, but people don't care so much. If you buy a hot rod, you buy a hot rod. But you need to have a truck with massive horsepower and massive torque, unless it's a 350 level or something like that.
Have you been to the South, Eric? Have you been? Glass packs.
I live in Tazewell County. Okay?
Stacks.
That's south. That's south for you.
No, but I say hot rods. Trucks have kind of become hot rods.
They have, but
you still get a V8 with them.
But I think people have dialed down their expectations. Is what I'm saying. I think high gas prices.
That's fair.
If the normal consumer. I think there was a time when if you were walking into the dealership and you said, "Oh, I want the big 6.0 or something like that," because it's not that much more money. But now somebody like Steve shows, "Hey, you know what? This is more practical, and if that means I'm giving up a little bit, I'm driving it. It's probably worth it in the long run."
I agree.
I think that's kind of a reality check, isn't it?
The nice thing about turbo diesels, though, too, is you can throw more power at them with a tune and a little bit of work. There's all kinds of things you can do with a turbo. And a diesel where you kind of make power in a crazy amount.
You're a GM apologist. I
am. I got a patch that says that.
Yeah, soon to be for sale. All right. In other national news, this is a great one here. This is from Adapt, which is kind of a weird newsletter I get. Crash tests show poor automated braking performance at night. So according to Kelley Blue Book, the Insurance Institute of America safety tested 23 vehicles that had the 22 model year stamped on them. The tests were to see if those models braked for adult-size mannequins. Mannequins were positioned to be crossing a street or walking parallel to the road, and the tests were conducted at 12 to 25 miles per hour for the crossing mannequins. Daytime results revealed that 19 of the 23 vehicles had an advanced superior rating for their automatic braking systems, Daryl. But at night, those numbers dropped to 11 out of 23.
Ooh.
The IIHS categorized the vehicles using the following criteria. The vehicles warned the driver to stop, and that was I'm not going to read all these models. So that's a basic. Advanced is the vehicle warned the driver to stop and reduce the speed to avoid the crash during one of the tests. And the superior, the vehicles avoided the crash in both tests, and that was the best thing that could happen. The Chevy Malibu, the Honda Pilot, the Nissan Altima, and the Toyota Tacoma did not perform well enough to receive any of these ratings on these 22 models. Yeah.
So that means if you're crossing the street at night and somebody's driving a Honda Pilot, look out.
Yeah.
Look out. Because they might
well,
see
and,
you.
I'm a Toyota shill, so I hate to see that too. But these automatic systems, and we calibrate these all the time. When you break a windshield or you have a bumper replaced, we have to recalibrate, the radar braking and the lane departure and all that stuff.
They're just like proximity sensors.
They
right?
watch everything. You'd be surprised how much the cameras are watching and how much the radar is watching at all times. And you have to think that somebody turned sideways with a profile. That car is taking in so much data at such a fast speed. How fast can it brake?
Have you ever had one of those the braking things kick on on you accidentally?
The Sienna I was driving, I got too close to the flower pot backing up the other day. I thought I hit it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Either your cars do that?
The Highlander.
Oh, okay.
The Highlander did once. Sarah was with me too, so she made fun of me. It's like, haha, but I was in traffic somewhere and I wasn't paying it. I was probably playing with the stupid radio. And I was creeping along, and the guy short stops right in front of me, and I was going like 5 miles an hour. But the thing, and it beeps, it does the beep beep beep, and then slams the brakes on.
Yeah,
and stayed on. It was great. I'm like, okay, cool. That saved me about $200 of damage.
I've tried to come off an off ramp and then let off the brake. Yeah, but man, it's too unnerving to do it. But if I'm in laser cruise and I follow a car all the way down an off ramp, it'll come to a stop.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Technology, especially when you start spending more time with it. Initially, I think a couple of years ago, one of our early shows, we were talking about laser cruise. It was with Todd Fortier. We were talking about that and how it's terrible. It takes the feel out of it and whatever. It's also saves your bacon.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just driving. You don't want it in an enthusiast car if you're on a road course or something like that. But if you're stuck in traffic and you're changing your playlist or you're looking somewhere you're not supposed to be looking.
Distracted driving, Daryl?
Yeah, maybe.
You wouldn't do that. I mean, unless it was like a 56 Buick or something on Marketplace.
Look at that. Crash. Beep, beep, beep.
Oh, man, this is tough news here if you're a GM apologist. GM's offering to buy back Buick dealers, Daryl.
Are they?
Yeah. Is this your story? Did I jump? I jumped you. Sorry.
No, this is
grab it.
This is, okay, I'll take it because it's GM. But yeah, they're offering buyouts to Buick dealers. If you haven't heard, Buick is going to be like EV all the time.
Like Saturn. Oh, wait. No, they're going to keep them. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. So they're actually going to current Buick dealers that don't want to make any investments in the brand's transition to exclusively offer all electric vehicles by 2030 here in the U.S. The automaker confirmed Friday that the buyout offers, which are being outlined to Buick dealers this week, are the latest efforts by GM to accelerate the company's EV plans and transform the sales network. All of Buick's roughly 2,000 franchise dealers will be given the opportunity to take the buyout, according to the global head of Buick.
Duncan Allred.
Yeah. I was much more of a fan of Duncan Hines myself, but
he's Allred. I mean, the family name, the lineage has to come from somebody who's well read, right?
I would think so.
Right.
I would think, but they were doing the same thing. GM was going to Cadillac dealers.
Well, and so that's
same thing, pressuring them.
That I thought we'd maybe talk about that. This is from Wall Street Journal. I thought Cadillac was going to be the EV brand for GM. So this Buick thing, what do we got? Like a moderate EV brand now? I mean, we're making Chevys, but Buicks are kind of like we're going to be EV there. But so
different price point.
So what's Cadillac? Is that could be like the Porsche competition or something?
Yeah, I think they're positioning. They've got like a 700 horsepower Escalade now for some stupid reason. And I like horsepower, but like the world needed that.
Yeah.
I think it's just different price points, different demographics. You have somebody who's going to buy a Chevy Bolt. It's going to be cheaper. something, a Buick, a little flashier, a little nice, maybe got some leather and some chrome. And then, of course, the Cadillac, which is, their flagship. So I think they're just trying to bring things in at different price points. I feel bad, and we talked, I think, about this with the Cadillac thing. I feel bad for the longtime dealers who are just kind of the smaller dealers in a rural area.
Which are the ones that usually give it up?
Yeah, and they're probably just going to be like, yeah, we'll go ahead and take the buyout.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that, there's...
Well, how many Buick dealers in the Peoria area?
One.
Really?
Yeah, I think. Is it Velde?
Is that the only one? There's not one in Peoria anymore?
Heritage closed. I think they got bought by somebody.
Okay. Riverside doesn't have Buick?
They might. I think they're just Chevy only now.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. In the old days, I don't know, where you grew up, did you have like a Chevy Oldsmobile dealership? Or
yeah, we did. We had Peterson, I think, on Route 24.
Yeah.
I think. I don't remember.
We had dealers that were, they'd sell a couple different types.
Peterson Chevrolet, Oldsmobile Buick, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was Rube up in Pontiac. There was Oldsmobile and Pontiac, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But nowadays, I think it's just everybody's streamlining. And the smaller kind of standalone places like that, I don't know. What's the buyout, too? If you're a dealer, I don't know how the whole affiliation works.
Well, so you pay monthly, or you pay monthly for your ticket, but then you have to re-sign every couple of years, based on your sales activity.
And you got to meet certain benchmarks,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and they'll put you, on a 3 or 5 or 10 year term, based on sales probably. But Buick, how many Buicks can a local dealership in Pekin, Illinois, be selling? I don't even know.
No,
dude, those Buicks are all garbage. Those Enclaves.
They're all they really have fallen, and I say that
it's not even a great brand.
Not anymore.
No,
not anymore. I really hate saying that, and we'll probably get a couple emails like, "I love my Buick LaCrosse from 2009."
I have never. I mean, right now, and I hate to jump out and just like ambush a brand, but
no, go for it.
We're dealing these small GM 4-cylinders with the timing chains and the oil consumption. I have never seen an auto manufacturer get away with murder with vehicles that literally engines only last 100,000 miles.
Yeah, if that.
It is insane.
I had a guy, a neighbor down the street. He showed up in an Enclave, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh, did you just get it?" He noodles around. He flips cars.
Good. Flip it again.
And that's what he's going to do. And it's beautiful. It came from Lighthouse. Lighthouse, that's another Buick dealer, right?
Okay, yeah, I think so.
I think they do Buicks. He's like, yeah, this thing had the 3.6 or whatever, basically timing chain, something exploded or a tensioner broke, whatever. It bent valves. He wound up getting a short block and putting it. So he somehow was able to finagle this thing for not a lot of money, put a new motor in it, and fixed it. Now he's running it around. He's going to sell it. And I'm thinking to myself, that motor that you pulled out of a junkyard is going to last another 20,000.
It's no better than the one that just degrenaded.
Awful.
They're garbage. And again, it's almost like there should be a class action lawsuit on these cars. They're super cheap, and they show up on the used car lots, and people are like, oh, look at this, 80 to 90,000 miles, I get this car for $10,000 or $12,000. But they literally can't make it 3 or 4 years without just chewing up so much oil. Or once the timing chains go, VVTi actuators can't even make the car run anymore. They're useless.
Years ago, I rented a Buick Regal with a little turbo Ecotec motor in it and drove up to Chicago for a work conference. And I just remember that the car was cramped. It had leather. It had all the bells and whistles that you would want. But it was cramped. The ride was terrible. And I think it was basically like a reskinned Chevy Cruze.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this thing's like a $32,000 car. Who's buying this? You still see them. I mean, you see them show up used all the time. I do feel bad because when I was a kid, my first car was a Buick. I was a 78 LeSabre. A Buick was something that you aspired to. It was a nice car. It was like you were moving up in the world.
Sure.
You got some nice options.
And that 3,000 motor, yeah.
3,800?
Yeah, 300?
Yeah.
One of the best motors ever put in a car ever in the history of automobiles.
I agree. I agree. And I would take, if Buick sold a 1988 LeSabre today, or a Park Avenue, I would buy one of those. I'd pay 30, 40 grand for one of those. So
those motors would run and run and run and run. Anyway, we could talk all day. Sorry about that. If you want to have the post-show Buick session, we could do that. Anyway.
The good old days.
The good old days. Now, here is a weird article, Daryl, that I dug up, and I don't think either you or I was expecting this. I don't know where it came from. I was trying to find credit to it, but let's just say this is a headline. The Inflation Reduction Act removes electric motorcycle tax incentives. This is by Mary Ann Todd. Just under a year ago, the industry professionals and consumers were hopeful to hear that the incentives to buy electric motorcycles would be offered under the Build Back Better Act, passed by the U.S. House of Representatives back in November. The incentive would offer substantial savings in purchasing electric motorcycle products as the federal government poises to replace combustible engines. Is that combustible? Combustion engines?
Combustion engine.
I mean, combustible engines really sounds bad.
Those are engines that explode.
Anyway, Marianne, the engines with electrification to 2- and 4-wheel drive vehicles. But this month, those hopes were dashed as motorcycles were completely left off the Inflation Reduction Act, effectively removing the now expired electric motorcycle tax credit in its entirety in a swift departure from the Build Back Better Act. Had electric motorcycle incentives been passed as planned, consumers would have been able to apply for as much as 30% credit, capped off at $7,500, and the act would have included motorcycles and electric bikes, electric cars, and EV batteries, making electric modes of transportation more affordable for motorcycles meeting the criteria of 2.5 kilowatts of battery and capable of traveling at speeds of at least 45 miles an hour. And there's more to read here. We have talked a little bit in the past about electric motorcycles, and I think even in my car of the week, way back, I had an electric motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think there's something really cool about motorcycles as a task-oriented vehicle. Like I'm going to go to work every day. I think a motorcycle is awesome for that, and I can plug it in, and it charges fast. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to be said for that. But then, if I look at like the Livewire from Harley Davidson, it's a $30,000 bike, and I think with the tax credit last year. So now we're $40,000 bikes?
Yeah, probably.
Why is it that we can give tax credits to Tesla and every other manufacturer for making EV cars, but this didn't happen for motorcycle manufacturers? It seems crazy to me.
It does. I've never seen, and now actively I don't go looking for them, but I don't know anybody, and I haven't seen any appear. I haven't seen any of these electric bikes out in the real world. Have you?
I don't think they've really made it to Central Illinois.
No.
The Harley dealer, I think, first off, just like every other manufacturer of automobiles, you had to be a certified EV, seller.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I know I have a friend who works at the Galesburg Harley store. They didn't bother to do it.
They're like, forget
whether it was a technician problem or something they didn't do in their shop. They opted out of not selling the live wires.
Because their techs have to get trained. They got to have certain things like certain tools or equipment, whatever, to service them.
So I don't know who else in the area. If you were to go to HarleyDavidson.com, you could probably look up and see who sells live wires. And we're using Harley. I don't know what Honda bikes, Yamaha. I mean, what other manufacturers are making these electric bikes? But there's certainly no incentive
for the consumer to buy them.
No. So I think it's a mistake. I think they'll probably course correct on that, wouldn't you think?
Over time, but there's got to be a little bit of a push. Maybe there's just not as many motorcycle lobbyists or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know who this. A couple of these people. The last comment was it's an issue for dealerships, but it's more unnerving for manufacturers. I have no clue how this is going to affect us. We're not in the game yet. It really does stifle the growth. I mean, they literally, you think about the money thrown at Rivian, to make these vehicles affordable, these tax credits.
Well, and what consumers adopt, too. That's the other thing. The market is going to adapt, and people are going to start purchasing things where there's incentives or where there's a buzz or where it's a better product.
Well, the federal government has manipulated the whole buying cycle of the consumer just by having these tax credits.
They have. And when you look at where electric stuff is taken over, it's automobiles, and walk through Lowe's, walk through Home Depot, walk through some of those places. If you need actual mower parts or stuff like that, that's few and far between. Everything is all like Ryobi or steel, or it's all electric.
Well, that's California doing that. When they outlawed the 2-strokes and all that stuff, it's coming for the rest of the United States. But that's battery technology too. A 40-volt and an 80-volt system. Dude, 5 years ago, that was science fiction.
It was.
Yeah.
And you can actually get, you can mow an entire suburban yard on one battery. Yeah. Which, again, 5 years ago, you couldn't really do.
When the little old lady, when I was a kid in the 80s, had a plug-in mower, like a plug-in lawn boy.
Yeah.
Like, that's so stupid. Look at that.
Right, you make fun of them.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, for somebody who had a postage stamp yard, probably the smartest person on the block, really.
They had the same. My great-grandpa had an electric Sunbeam snowblower.
Yeah.
Sunbeam, like they make toasters.
Yeah.
Okay. They in the 60s, 70s, they made mowers. They made all kinds of outdoor stuff. And he had an electric snowblower. And you know what? That thing worked for 30 years.
Always started.
Never had problems. Never was changing fuel. Never rebuilt the diaphragm in his carb from, it was just, who's laughing
My
now?
buddy bought an electric chainsaw because he's like, never have a problem with it start, because who doesn't have a chainsaw that's hard to start?
I think they just make them that
The
way.
first year they start great. After that they suck. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, Daryl, because this next article basically tells us we're all screwed, right?
Yeah, so we're not actually getting anything we purchase in the next few months because members of one union rejected a tentative deal with the the U.S.'s largest freight railroads this week. Just today, right?
Yeah.
This is hot off the presses. Let's talk about the railroad strike.
Live, local, late breaking. That's Throwin Wrenches news.
2 ratified agreements and 3 others remained at the bargaining table just days ahead of the strike deadline, threatening to intensify snarls in the nation's largest supply chain that have contributed to rising prices. About 4,900 members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, District 19, voted to reject a tentative agreement negotiated by IAM leadership with the railroads, the union said Wednesday, today. They agreed to delay any strike by members until after September 29th. So bottom line is here, railroad companies, bunch of different groups, and one single union trying to work through some bargaining just days ahead of a strike that might be heading our way. That includes, real quick, BNSF, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, CSX, Kansas City Southern, and U.S. operations of Canadian National. So every freight train that you see crossing at a crossing near you, they're not happy. And similar things happening with the UPS, I thought.
Yeah, and I've also heard even like barges.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The gist I've gotten lately, because I see a lot of job openings and stuff like that in these postings, people talking about it. Of course, I got to keep my ear to the ground on this because I never want to lose a technician to another more lucrative field. But they're working these people to death. As supply chain was all bunched up and the California thing at the port crisis was happening, they're working to train people like crazy. And I think even after COVID, the barge traffic had to pick back up. These people are spending way too much time out on their job.
Sure.
And it's hard to get people to do these jobs, right?
Yeah, barges, I know locally here, you see on the Illinois River, the Ohio River, stuff like that, they're on for a month at a time.
Yeah.
And they just work and work and work. Now, same thing with the railroads, all these little ancillary businesses, truck drivers, that we don't think about as the pandemic took hold and everybody was ordering everything, having everything Amazon to their house. That's supply chain or not, there was a lot more activity in the delivery realm. And shipping, logistics, all that's the supply chain stuff. And I don't know if you've met somebody or somebody or have a family member working for like UPS or FedEx or Amazon. Talk to them at the end of the day and ask them how their day went. Especially in the last 2 years. It's probably not great.
Yeah.
Probably not great. So I don't know the specifics, and to be honest, that was the first time I had heard about this because I don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah, I dumped it on you because we're dealing at the dealership. It's a concern. The sales managers kind of clued me into this one today.
Yeah.
Obviously everything that shows up at the dealership shows up in the back of a truck. But in order for it to get to Chicago or for it to get to Indianapolis or Louisville, or wherever, whatever our port is locally, it showed up there by rail.
Yeah.
And the Rivian factory, 20 miles east of here, they have a giant railroad yard, right next to that factory. So every manufacturer depends on unloading all their vehicles out of the factory onto a rail car.
Appreciate the work of those folks too, because that is just one of those jobs. I worked in a warehouse for, stockroom for many years when I was in high school and college, and I knew the UPS drivers and, the guys that would come and drive semis and all the freight guys, DHL and all that. And even in my physical prime, it was a lot of work.
Oh, you're still there, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
You've got time.
Yeah, right. I think that's probably why I busted up my back. It was a lot of work, and that was day in, day out. And I have to imagine that GPS tracking and all kinds of metrics were running on things. I would think they'd be under the gun so much because you can watch everybody's move and you know exactly where your stuff's at. And I think that's probably got to be one of the most stressful jobs now. You're in a truck delivering stuff all day long. Your back's got to be killing you. You're dealing with customers in different locations, and not only dealing with that, dealing with the stress of the job. Then you got to deal with people in traffic, or even in a train, dealing with idiots. Like every couple of days, there's a new video of some guy in a truck or some school bus or something horrible getting run over at a train crossing because they don't know what the crossing gates and flashing lights and bells mean. So it's got to be a horrible job.
Do you know anybody who didn't want to be a trucker anymore because they went to electronic logs?
No.
I know
Is
a
that a
couple.
thing,
I know
though?
a couple people, yeah. Just when the technology changed,
I believe it.
it became more stressful. I don't know what they were doing that they were so scared of, or were they just flat out scared of technology? So you know what? I don't want to deal with it. I know one way to do it. And how many people do you know that in your life anyway? They do everything by paper, and once you tell them it's going to be electronic, they're like, I'm out of there.
I'm out.
And there might have been a lot of people just retire at that point, just say, screw it, I'm out.
I do know a guy who drove for UPS and got in a fender bender, and they fired him.
Yeah.
Like on the spot. And it really wasn't his fault. They're just like, yeah, cool. Just go ahead and you're done.
You ready?
Is it that time?
It's that time. He's been a little weird this week.
It's time for your moment of Musk.
Elon Musk today, he posted a random opinion on Twitter, which started chatter on the microblogging site. Is Twitter microblogging? I wasn't even sure of that. Anyway, the Tesla CEO expressed his views on salted butter. Quote, salted butter is amazing, but should be stored at room temperature, unquote. The billionaire also shared a meme along with his post, which left the internet in splits. He posted on September 14th, and the tweet has amassed 58,900 likes with 3,300 retweets and several comments. Not only is this guy a pioneer of industry, he is definitely a comedian, and he knows his memes. That is your moment of Musk.
That was your moment of Musk.
Gabe does it so well.
Salted butter tweets. Is he a foodie?
I mean, that's the best thing about this guy. Now, he's versatile. You know, he goes. We could talk about saving humanity all the way down to. I mean, literally, you could be at Thanksgiving table with this guy. You know, Elon could probably. We could talk about the butter, or we could talk about saving humanity. What's it going to be? Or let's talk about them both because he's well versed in both.
I guess.
Would you invite him to Thanksgiving?
No, I was going to say, what parallel universe are you or I sitting at a table on a holiday with America's sweetheart, Elon Musk?
I could see it. Elon, you are more than welcome to my Thanksgiving table.
All right.
It's a fine table, donated by Gabe Casey.
It is a very nice table.
Brought his name up the 28th time this episode.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get past that. That was a rough moment of Musk. I'm sorry, folks.
It was. We left a lot on the cutting room floor.
Well, and the problem is he didn't have a whole lot of interesting stuff going on. He's got his Twitter stuff going on, and I'm kind of sick of that. And not really a whole lot of SpaceX. So the butter tweet, I think it was a worthwhile post.
All things butter.
Yeah.
So grinding of the gears, we haven't done this segment in a while. We've actually been pretty well.
I had one a couple weeks ago. You got it. Yeah. Anyway, but looks like you have something.
I was just going to say, have you heard in passing people talk about, it's a stick shift. Your car's got a 5-speed.
I just said this the other day.
That's the millennial anti-theft device.
No, it is, Daryl. It is.
Yeah. Dumb. I think that was funny a few years ago. When did you hear it in context?
No, because I was talking, somebody asked, they said, is that the Supra that was stolen? And so that day that the Supra was stolen, the FRS was nose and nose to it.
Yeah.
And the person took the keys and threw them on the ground for the FRS because it was a stick shift. And guess what, Daryl? That means it was a millennial theft deterrent device.
Well, it only means that if the person might have stolen it was actually a millennial, but these are like young kids, right, that stole stuff.
What is a millennial anymore? I don't know.
See, that's the thing. Millennials are like 30, 40. I don't know. They're like old now.
Okay. I think most millennials actually are kind of hipsters, and they probably want to learn how to drive a stick.
Because it's different. It's unique, right? So I just keep hearing that in certain car circles, certain, I say demographics, I say older dudes maybe might say it.
Whoa.
Guess what, folks? Most of the folks I know that have a manual car or truck, they're millennials. Yeah. So they actually show up to events. They work on their own stuff. They know how to drive. They might even be the next generation of car enthusiasts. So maybe, just maybe, you might want to be cool to them because they'll be buying your 5-speed Integra GSR or your C6 Corvette with a 6-speed from your estate sale for peanuts in a few years. They're not going to pay much for it because nobody wants it. And you're going to want to take as much money as you can from these millennials who like stick shifts because you want to live in a nice assisted living facility, right?
You just went total dad.
Yeah.
This is a dad moment with you.
Well, I just feel like there's some things like
So somebody must have said it that really horked you off.
I always hate, now don't get me wrong, there are certain times where I'm like, this group sucks.
Yeah.
Or this, Corvette owners with their New Balance shoes.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It is fun. And Mustang owners in the ditch.
Right. But at the same time, like the millennial anti-theft, I think we need to stop beating up on millennials. I really like.
My daughter could leave
Enough.
the keys in her car at school, and nobody could move it. Nobody could touch it.
Yeah, but that just shows you that people have evolved. Nobody knows how to do anything anymore.
Okay.
But your daughter drives stick. Aiden drives stick.
Yeah, both my kids do.
And they're not, but they're like, are they Gen Zs?
I don't know what they are. I guess I
got to Google.
All right, yeah.
What's the age of millennials?
Yeah, okay. So
the youngest millennial. Would that be I think it's 2000.
Range.
Right? Is it 2000, 2001, something like that?
Let Uncle Google tell you. CNN reports that studies often use 1981 to 1996 to define millennials.
Okay.
So my children are not millennials
Right.
because my daughter was born in 2001. So she would be Gen Z. Is that
Wow, I guess she is. She's just, yeah. So but my whole point, though, is millennials are old.
They're 10 years. You're close. You're not quite a millennial.
No, I'm not. And I remind people that too. People like, you're a millennial. You're one of them millennial types.
Yeah. What year were you born? 84?
79.
No, 70. Sorry. 4 years the other direction.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, my bad.
But
You're close. You're close.
I am close. I know how to use a cell phone, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I also know how to drive stick. It's not a novelty. I guess it is, but maybe it's not. I don't
Could
know.
you drive 3 on the tree?
Okay, boomer. What?
Could you do it on the tree?
Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, 2 of my cars are 3.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I've never driven a stick shift on the column.
Well, next time you're over, we'll fire up one of the cars.
That'd be fun.
I'll teach you how to drive.
I mean, my tractor is, I guess the gearbox in that way, but the throttle up high. Anyway.
It's a little different.
Yeah, once you learn how to do that kind of stuff, it's not a big deal.
It's a teachable moment too. If you have some young guy or a girl and they're just like, "Hey, this is neat. I'd love to be able to drive stick or something." Teach them. That's the only way you're going to get experience. And the reason that some of these younger folks might not know how to do it is because like 3% of the cars are manual now. So order a manual transmission car. Go get an FRS. Go get a. Can you get the 86?
Yeah, the 86, you can get a manual.
And
six speed.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Order it up, yo.
Have a bunch of fun. And the new, actually I had a call today from one of the autocross guys about the new Supra coming out with a manual transmission. He was wanting to know what the ETA was. I talked to the owner, Mr. Fort, and we have no allocation ideas as far as that goes. They did announce manual transmission for the upcoming year, but nothing is in the pipeline. And when you look up our in-ground, in-transit and all that, we have no Supras coming in. So
Not yet.
who knows?
Maybe they're in a container ship somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Daryl, we got any game show music?
We do. Cue that.
Oh,
up.
yeah.
That must mean one thing.
It means Cars of the Week. Cars of the Week, W-E-A-K. Daryl and I are so weak. Even when we're chock full of cars. We have so many cars in the garage, and we've gotten our wives, even our other family members, saying suspect things about our lifestyle
You
choices.
should probably sell one or two of
Well,
these.
do you really need so many cars? What do, Daryl? We still sit on the couch. We still at work, maybe out of the corner of our eye in the second monitor, look over maybe at Craigslist or something like that, just to see what might be for sale. Hey, it's my break time. I don't smoke. I can do what I want.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Cars of the Week is Daryl and I. We buy the car in our head. We justify it. Sometimes we present it to the wife or the significant other, just to see what they might feel about it. But generally speaking, it doesn't work out. So we buy it in our mind. We dream about it, and then we bring it to you and share it with you, dear listener.
What a treat. What a treat.
Yeah.
And you're in for a treat this week because I'm looking at Eric's pick here, and it is straight up out of something from 1970s, I don't know, mid-70s. I can just see a lot of macrame. I see a lot of avocado green sweaters. What did you find on the World Wide Web?
I mean, I think Sarah can smell the farts from here. This is a 1975 Winnebago Brave. I was headed up to Chicago this weekend, north of Chicago, to visit my son in college, and we stopped at Wally's Truck Stop in Pontiac, Illinois. It's a giant mega gas station. They sell gas 4 cents cheaper than the other guys around the area, by the way. And we stopped inside. Well, Wally's is so big. I mean, they're cutting brisket. They got on tap kombucha. They got fresh cinnamon rolls being made. It is a palace inside, but in the middle of the palace, they have a Winnebago Brave sitting there. So Winnebago Brave is a nice, I don't want to say it's like a short Winnebago, but the camper, it's a motorhome that's literally as wide as it is long almost. It's very short and stout. It's kind of chubby looking. The angles are bad, and I think the windshield's a split windshield that almost has like a triangle shape to it. It's just like a wedge.
Very aerodynamic.
Yeah, no, not at all. But they cut out the side of the Winnebago Brave at Wally's so they could sell you T-shirts and some other bric-a-brac. But as I'm standing there looking at it, it's glorious, and I'm like, this is a perfect size. I mean, and really, it's low tech. The interior of these things got to be pretty nice. So what do, Daryl? I started perusing the marketplace.
Just to see what's out there.
I got to see what's out there for Braves. So I found a 1975 Winnebago Brave somewhere in northern Illinois with 59,000 miles on it. It's all original. It runs. It only has 523 hours on the generator. The AC blows cold, has dual water tanks, shower inside with a bathroom, and it has a big block 440 on a Dodge dually chassis. He might trade it for a boat. I don't have a boat. So
get a boat and then trade him.
Without a boat, he wants $7,500 to this guy. Now, I will tell you, I was in Wally's as I'm holding a warm cinnamon roll and I'm drinking an iced coffee.
You didn't go with the kombucha?
I didn't go with kombucha. It was too early. What's kombucha time? 1 o'clock?
It's 1 o'clock somewhere. So anyways, you're standing there.
I'm standing there, and I told the wife, I said, I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, you know what? This is one of those cars, and I said this earlier, even like Gabe Casey's little convertible I should have bought. You could buy one of these, and you could park it. Even if you didn't want to renovate it right now, if it's in decent shape, we buy it. And she looked at me like she almost agreed to the situation. Like, it's not a bad idea, So what do? I find this one. I say, look, honey, they're for sale. She didn't pay me any mind on that. She didn't even care. It's like she lied to me when we were in Wally's.
Just ignore him. He'll go away.
Yeah, I'm so upset. I really wanted to own this.
They made, I want to say they made like a Tonka version of this, or like there were like kids' toys.
Like a Barbie one?
Yeah, I think there was a Barbie
I think
RV.
You're right, yeah.
And it looked like this.
My Barbie and G.I. Joe made out in one of these.
It's gross.
My Barbie. That's not my Barbie.
He said it. I could go back and play the tape. Now, I will say this. My wife grew up, and her folks had one of these when she was a real tiny little girl. And she remembers going on some campouts out west in this thing. And she, at some point, I think her folks sold it to like her uncle. And then they did the same thing. They did the family truckster thing. They graduated to different RVs over the years and got smaller and smaller. And eventually she's like, I ended up in a tent. I don't know how that happened, but we stopped camping.
That is counterintuitive, yeah.
It is. You'd think you'd get a bigger RV.
Yeah.
But I remember her aunt and uncle had this thing, and their kids, they had 3 kids, and traveled all over the country with it. When Sarah and I started dating, and we were hanging out at her aunt and uncle's one time, I saw this Brave sitting behind the house with all the other vehicles that stopped running. And I felt so sorry for this thing. I'm like, it was one of the shorties like this, short wheelbase.
Yeah.
It looked just like this. And it had like moss on it and stuff, and probably like snakes crawling around it and whatnot, critters. I felt so bad because I'm like, this is the iconic 70s RV that
truly
just looks great. And I'm like, would your uncle ever sell it? She's like, no, I would never set foot in that thing. It's disgusting. I'm like, okay. So
many happy memories.
I could never, there's a lot of repressed trauma there. I would never be able to get my wife to get into one of these RVs. But I would say, probably not tonight or whatever, but Google the Ring Brothers, they custom car builders.
Okay.
They actually took one of these things and built it and like slammed it, put it on air ride, has like a newer Hemi.
I think I've seen that.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's glorious because it looks like the 70s RV, but the thing will go like 110 miles an hour.
That's fun. Well, that's scary and funny
like
at the same time. Yeah, no thanks. I mean, just because all the little 1x4s that are inside, holding this thing together, you just imagine them just like obliterating and falling to toothpicks as it's going 100 miles an hour. I'll be all right.
If you had this thing, and it's 440, Dodge big block, 440, probably big torque flight trans, what would you do with it?
Well, see, that's the problem. I like to think I'd have the time to actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Would you actually take it like out west?
Well, to me, like going to Wisconsin this weekend, we didn't spend the night. We just drove up there, spent the day. Wouldn't it be fun just to kind of drive this up there and then spend the whole weekend, just Aiden lives basically on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
So find a spot near Racine or something like that.
Sure.
Camp spot. And just go to sleep in that bad boy. Wake up in the morning, and go back to the beach.
I kind of like that style.
Or even if you went to Lake Michigan on the other side, which would be even better because you'd actually go to the beach. You
Right.
can't really do that in Racine, but I don't
Mostly
know.
rocks, right?
Yeah, it is.
Mostly just giant rocks.
Yeah. No, I think that's how you drive it. Although when you start looking at the fuel economy, you're probably getting 11, if you're lucky, probably 8 or 9 miles a gallon. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, that turned into an expensive weekend. So I don't know.
Especially when you tow your boat behind it.
Yeah. My sailboat.
Your sailboat?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
I don't know. There's a lot of things I got to think about on this. But anyway, that's why it's my car of the week. It wasn't well thought, but I did own it and I wanted it.
I love it. Nice pick.
Thanks.
I went a little bit newer, but not much.
This is exotic for you.
It is a little weird. I found perusing Facebook Marketplace. I'm just like, I'm going to randomly just kind of see, like almost roulette. I just want to see what shows up.
I'm feeling lucky on Netflix. You
Right.
should have an I'm feeling lucky on Facebook Marketplace.
So this popped up in the feed, and it was actually the prettiest one, and it's a beautiful green color. It's not a British racing green, but almost like a Kermit the Frog green. I don't know. It's weird. It's an 85 Jaguar XJ6 Vanden Plas. And it's at Facebook Marketplace, also up in northern Illinois, McHenry, if you know where that's at, on the Fox River. And
Beautiful Fox River.
Beautiful Fox River. This thing popped up Facebook for $6,300, and I looked at it, and it's got the original Jaguar mag rims. The paint's in really, really good shape. Interior pictures were great, kind of a light bone-colored leather. And everything just looked really good in it. And I'm like, what's the catch?
The bare metal, BEAR.
Maybe. I don't know. Reluctantly, this is what the ad says. Reluctantly, I have to sell my 85 XJ6. Excellent shape. All the hard work has been done, including inboard back brakes. Inboard? Who uses that?
I don't know what that means. Maybe he's a boater.
Maybe. This Jaguar has had a full bare metal restoration, misspelled. Maybe this is a scam, Eric.
Might be.
I have a CD of 160 pictures of that. Drives like a dream. Front seats could use new skins. And have a stack of receipts, all the work done. 55,000 miles. Everything works as it should. AC could use a charger. It upgrades. Serious inquiries only. No tire kickers. Showing by appointment only. ! Not one of the most well-written, inviting ads. But
well, he's just trying to tell you he's serious, and you better be serious too, right?
I did look through some of the pictures, too. There is a scrapbook.
A CD of first off, who advertises a photo? I mean, it would have been better if he was said Kodak photo CD with 160 pictures.
I've got some slides, some Kodachromes of my work. Now, it's for $6,300 though. If this thing is legit, and it does have Illinois antique plates, and there were some old pictures. I think it's an older guy who probably fixed it up a while ago, and maybe just doesn't drive it anymore.
And bitter, he has to get rid of it.
Maybe he's moving to the home. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this thing's real pretty, and it is the classic XJ6. It's the Jaguars that we kind of grew up seeing.
I mean, that British racing green. I mean, if you're gonna buy a Jaguar, what color do you want? Green.
Yeah, it stands out. And a lot of these things, especially in our climate, they start to get rust around the lower fenders, front and rear. And there's a couple of them out there right now that are $800 to $1,200 that are just straight up parts cars. But it's a shame because the interiors on all of them are still beautiful because they use real nice leather and wood and stuff like that.
Real wood.
So this thing, I don't know, maybe $6,300. I don't think you could get that car painted for $6,300.
Oh, I agree. If it's got a clean paint job, it's definitely worth that.
I think it runs, drives, got a nice paint job. That's a bargain.
I love those Jaguar wheels too.
Don't you?
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah, they are. I mean, back 20 years ago, I'd been like, I couldn't wait to get those things off.
And put like some lace BBSs or something on.
Something, yeah. But now they just look honest and pure.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nice looking car.
It is a nice looking car. You do have the Volvo, so I guess I forget you do have a little bit of European heritage in your garage. I just can't see you owning a British car.
I would love to. The trouble is I don't fit in most of them. It's the head. I'm obviously a fat person.
Whatever,
but
you're tall.
It's the height. It's the headroom. And a good friend of mine used to have an XJ years ago, and he's like not even 6 feet. He barely fit the thing.
Really?
He looked hilarious in it. But they ride great. They've got just great lines. I don't know if I could ever pull the trigger, but virtually, sure, why not? So
I like it. That's a good choice.
Matt.
And it's a good departure for you. It's not something from 1925.
You have to crank it to start it. I don't don't know. I do like your RV.
Is that the outro music?
It is the outro.
Is it coming in?
Well, I mean, we got some time. We can vamp.
Okay. We've come to the end of another episode of Throwin Wrenches podcast. Episode 68 was a ton of fun. We hope you had a ton of fun. We hope you share with all your friends and your family and all your most hated people in your life. We don't care because we want to review. That's all I care about.
That's all you do when you wake up in the morning. You check the iTunes.
No, I don't. I before every episode I check just to just to be sure. But listen, folks, I'm going to be heading back out middle of October, and so we'll probably get another show or two in. We're going to do another Gabe Casey show. So I mean,
yay,
yeah. Oh, yeah, even that guy propped up the show when this thing was falling apart. So pitch us a review. Send us a comment.
Gabe Casey.
Do it for Gabe Casey. Yeah, and send us a review. And tell all your friends, like I said, and make sure you tune in for episode 69. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to have Gabe back on there. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.